Okay, imagine waking up tomorrow morning and finding out that half of your busy work is just already done. You roll over, check your phone, and boom, there's a complete summary of overnight industry news waiting for you. Your inbox, totally sorted. That custom piece of code you needed, drafted and tested. Now, I know that sounds a lot like science fiction, but honestly, thanks to how fast AI is evolving right now, it's actually completely possible to set this up. We're talking about building a localized, tireless worker right on your machine. Basically, it's like having a little 24/7 factory that is constantly researching, organizing your life, and building things for you while you are literally fast asleep.
So, let's dive right into this explainer and completely demystify how you can build and securely manage your very own local AI agent from the absolute ground up. We're going to take this incredibly complex, futuristic concept and break it down into a highly structured anatomical assembly checklist, a blueprint you can literally start using today.
Here's our agenda for today. 1. Meet your local agent. 2. The hardware and security checklist. 3. Communication and persistent memory. 4. Heartbeats and task scheduling. And finally, 5. The daily automated briefing. Let's get into it.
Starting off with Section 1, Meet Your Local Agent.
So what exactly is a local AI agent? Well, it's vastly different from those standard chatbots you're probably used to using online. With traditional cloud-based AI, you know the drill. You type a prompt, you wait for the answer, and then you copy-paste the result. An agent, on the other hand, is designed to actually take actions and complete multi-step tasks totally autonomously. But why does the local part matter so much here? It really comes down to ultimate data privacy. Because this intelligence lives and runs directly inside your own hardware. Your highly personal data, your internal business docs, and private emails, none of that ever gets sent off to some corporate cloud server. It lives completely within your own digital ecosystem. And because of that, you can comfortably grant it deep access to automate personalized workflows without ever having to worry about compromising your privacy.
Moving right along to Section 2, the hardware and security checklist.
Now, before we flip the switch and turn anything on, we really need to figure out where your agent is going to live. Let me be clear, that everyday laptop you carry around in your backpack, the one you constantly close and unplug, yeah, that is just not going to cut it. Your agent's brain requires a 24/7 continuous power supply so it can actually do its job autonomously overnight. Plus, AI models are incredibly resource-heavy beasts. They demand highly specific processors like robust GPUs or neural engines and a massive amount of RAM. If you try to run a heavy AI model constantly in the background of your main work machine, it's going to completely melt your battery life and your cooling fans will literally be screaming. So, because of this intense requirement, you absolutely need to deploy your agent on a completely dedicated machine that just stays plugged into the wall and connected to the internet all the time.
When it comes to deciding exactly which hardware to dedicate, you're really looking at a crucial performance comparison between cloud computing and local computing. You might have an old laptop lying around, right? Maybe a wiped MacBook Pro with 16 gigs of RAM. That older machine is actually fantastic if you want to run API-based models. In that setup, your old laptop uses minimal local processing power and just sends commands out to heavy cloud models like Claude Sonnet or Opus using an API key. It's great because you save big on upfront hardware costs, though you will pay recurring API fees. But if you want the ultimate privacy and the limitless, unmetered speed of running massive open-source models natively, we're talking models like Llama 3 or Qwen, you need serious processing power. For that, you'll want to step up to a modern Mac Mini or a Mac Studio. Apple's modern unified memory architecture is uniquely equipped to load those giant, heavy models completely on-device.
Now, because you're giving an intelligent, autonomous system the power to execute code on your network, you honestly need to be borderline paranoid about safety. Let's run through the absolute essentials. First, isolate the agent on that dedicated device we just talked about. Keep it physically separated from your highly sensitive tax files or crypto wallets. Second, while you definitely want it to scan and organize your emails, do not ever grant it access to your primary personal email account. Seriously, create a separate alias specifically for the agent to use. Unless, you want your new AI assistant hallucinating and accidentally emailing your boss recipe for banana bread at 3 in the morning. Third, as you start expanding your agent's capabilities, be extremely wary of third-party workflows or skills you download from open repositories. To stop any malicious code from executing, force a highly trusted, sandboxed model like Claude to scan and completely rewrite those external scripts before you let your agent run them. And finally, use the agent's own automation against it. Have it run a security health audit on itself periodically to check for any unexpected resource spikes.
Which brings us to Section 3, Communication and Persistent Memory.
All right, so now we get to attach the agent's virtual body parts, specifically its ears and its mouth. You need a way to interact with it remotely, ideally right from your phone. But you should definitely start the step-by-step process simply. First, just go grab a free API key to create a basic Telegram bot. Second, connect that API key directly into your agent's core Python script. Boom. This gives you a really simple, single channel to just ping your agent with a request and get a reply back. Once you've got the hang of that, step 3 is graduating up to Discord. By setting up Discord webhooks, your agent can actually route completely different types of outputs into separate, highly organized channels. You could literally have one channel just for coding alerts, another dedicated entirely to your financial news digests, and maybe a third just for system health checks.
Now, what about the agent's memory? To give it persistent memory, we really don't need to deploy some massively complex database. We can rely on a remarkably straightforward text file system. Here's how it works. First, you just create simple markdown files. You know, the ones ending in .md. Inside those, you just write out your specific workflows, your professional persona, and your preferences in plain, everyday English. The agent reads these files so it knows exactly who you are. Next, and this is the absolutely vital implementation step, you program the agent's script to actively append text to these files. You're basically forcing it to aggressively document all of its own daily actions. So if it researches a topic for you on Tuesday, it writes a quick summary of that research into a markdown file so it actually remembers it on Wednesday. Finally, you take an application called Obsidian and point it right at this folder of markdown files. Obsidian is essentially a visual markdown reader that automatically maps the connections between all these scattered text files, and it instantly turns your agent's memory into a highly organized, easily searchable second brain.
Let's look at Section 4, Heartbeats and Task Scheduling.
Okay, so our agent has memory, and it has a way to communicate. Now, we need to give it a pulse. A heartbeat is basically an automation trigger, and it facilitates a massive paradigm shift here. It takes the agent from being this purely reactive entity, one that just sits there completely dormant until you type a prompt, to being a proactive, independent worker. By implementing a heartbeat, the agent continuously wakes itself up in the background. It can autonomously scan a designated folder for new files, check your calendar to see if anything changed, or even monitor a live data feed. It gets to decide on its own if an action is required based on the instructions you gave it.
So how do we actually schedule these recurring heartbeat triggers? Well, developers use something called a cron job. To put it really simply, a cron job is exactly like a highly specific digital alarm clock for your computer's operating system. But instead of just making a loud noise to wake you up, this alarm clock tells the computer exactly which script it needs to run at the precise millisecond the alarm goes off. You can use a cron job to trigger a quick 5-minute task like, say, checking the weather every single hour, or you can set an alarm for midnight every night, triggering a massive computationally heavy research task that just runs for hours while you're sound asleep.
And finally, Section 5, the Daily Automated Briefing.
Now, let's bring all these anatomical parts together into a really practical daily setup. I want you to picture this relay race of automation happening before you even open your eyes in the morning. At exactly 7 a.m., a cron job goes off. This triggers the agent's heartbeat. The agent wakes up, securely reads your upcoming calendar events, and scans your designated email alias to draft a personalized morning brief. Then, at 7:30 a.m., the agent moves seamlessly into Phase 2. It autonomously pulls data from the web to update a persistent markdown text file that contains your specific topic watch list. Finally, at exactly 8 a.m., the agent fires off a webhook. It uses its Discord mouth to route a fully compiled, perfectly formatted daily digest of top stories right to your phone. So by the time you're pouring your first cup of coffee, an entire hour of deep analytical work has already been completed for you. It's incredible.
Look, having a local AI strategy is no longer just some nerdy hobbyist experiment you do on the weekends. Just listen to this perspective from NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang. He talks about the absolute necessity of having what he calls an OpenClaw strategy. An OpenClaw refers to the capability of an individual or even an entire enterprise to build an automated robotic mechanism that literally reaches out into the vast chaotic internet, grabs the exact data it needs, and pulls it right back into a secure, local environment. Rather than you passively sitting there waiting for information to come to you, your local agents are out there actively hunting and processing it for you. This transition isn't just a trend, it's rapidly becoming a mandatory evolution in exactly how modern professionals manage their workload.
Armed with this anatomical assembly checklist, from securing the right dedicated hardware to protecting your privacy, installing a persistent memory base, and giving your agent that automated heartbeat, the power is now firmly in your hands. You literally have the exact blueprint right here to build your own tireless, secure, 24/7 digital worker that scales your productivity exponentially. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on.
What will your first local AI agent build for you while you sleep?